Bo in the background?
Yes.
Me in the foreground. Okay, so the deal here is we're at the Eurobike show 2024. I'm Oscar, this is Bo. We're going to do a walk around the show and look at some interesting stuff. Partly because it's the start of Sunday and it's a bit quiet. So we're going to go and find some interesting things. Let's walk this way. Let's do Hall 8 and then Hall 9, and then Hall 11 and then Hall 12 and then the test track and then come back, and we'll do it in like half an hour. If it just seems like this ends up as a video about me walking around, that's because it really is. Luke, have you seen anything you thought was interesting?
It's been hard work actually.
Searching for something. Okay, context to that, that's not just us bitching. That is because at this show, aggregate, there are probably 10,000 normal bikes. Let's go this way. By the way, this glowing thing, Luke, have you seen this? You're not going to miss it. The thing that's interesting about this, guys, you can walk through, don't worry. It's so this is recycled plastic. There's two companies doing stuff like this. One of them's called V-Frames, where they're taking like a thermoplastic, that is a plastic that melts with heat, and dicing it up and squishing it into a frame and making a bike frame from it, or swishing it into a mold and making a bike frame from it. The V-Frames one is particularly interesting because they're using little strands, like 3-4 mil strands of carbon fiber in there. So you actually get a very strong frame. This one, they use much shorter, like 0.5 mil strands, but it's from Igus, and Igus make like the best plain bearings in the world. If you want to like have any rotational parts or anything that moves relative to each other, you use Igus. So the fact that they've actually brought out an entire frame and the whole technology to do it is kind of amazing. And presumably for some people kind of scary. I can't help but feel a little bit sorry for their tree. It is a real tree, just having a really rough time.
Sort of.
The 10-way bikes, I haven't ridden the 10-way bikes and I don't know a huge amount about their technology, so I can't really make any interesting or bold statements. But I would just say, of all the stands, this is the one that I would like electively spend time on. It's really interesting. I was just looking at the Brightways. Yeah, different scooter companies, everyone has different awarenesses. So if you look at the Brightway chassis, if you look at the Brightway lineup, it looks a lot like the sort of old school Xiaomi's, the OG, like the 365 Pro, the scooters that started this whole thing off. And I've never known how that works from like an IP. There's an interesting question as to how Brightway came to be Brightway. Did it involve Xiaomi, or did it involve looking at Xiaomi and then firing up the Xerox? But over here we do have something really cool. This is VMAX. So VMAX kind of cool, obviously, because as Bo, we're looking at which scooter companies are crushing it. VMAX are definitely crushing it in two ways. They've got a great link up with a telecoms company in Germany, 1&1, so you get a special deal in your VMAX. But then also, they've got their own manufacturing. They've created a really solid range of scooters, right? With Bo, we've tried to do something visually very different. Not everybody goes for that, is the truth. And the one thing that VMAX have done is if you want a scooter as you're familiar with, like you've had a Xiaomi or a Segway, you just want something A1, everyone says they're really solid. They've also got tons of power. I rode one of the 1500 watt ones. The guy on the stand is Max. He's the CEO of VMAX Germany. And they didn't name it after him or anything. I think it was in the job criteria. But the cool thing, Luke, just one little detail, is they've made a full carbon fiber scooter, and that's way more intense than it first appears. Like if you get in close, they've literally laid up, like this is structural carbon fiber. That's why the headset is like bigger than on the standard scooters and stuff. They've gone to a bigger bearing, but this is all of it is like lacquered, proper structural carbon fiber in their standard scooter format. So it looks like the rest of the range, but it's going to be like appropriately expensive because carbon fiber is difficult to do. There's a reason at Bo why we haven't done stuff like this. It's because carbon fiber is very fragile. So if you scratch it, bump it, the sort of stuff that don't worry, man, you can come through. The sort of stuff that happens to scooters the whole time. If you buy one of those, just look after it really carefully. These have been a highlight of the show. I was hoping we'd see one when we got onto the test track. The idea here is that you sit at the back and then you put your partner or your friend, like a battering ram, at the front. But everyone who I've seen riding around on these has been laughing a lot, so I think it must be good fun. Now next to VMAX, who are obviously one of the like OGs of the modern scooter ecosystem, they've been going 10 years. You've then got Egret, and the reason Egret's kind of exciting, so they've brought out 2 new products for this show-ish. The first is these Yadea scooters. So they're very clear on the scooter. It's Egret times Yadea. And they are just like a low-cost entry to the Egret family. But more than that, they've brought out this beast, absolute beast of a scooter. Front suspension, rear suspension, built-in lock, chunky wheels, oodles of power. If you're going to buy a scooter in the like standard scooter format, you want something which is like you've done your Xiaomi, you've done your Segway. That is probably about as much value for money as you're ever going to get. That's incredible. Is the gimbal having a freak out? Is it having a mare?
We're back.
This is cool. Obviously, everyone knows Pure Electric of Adam Norris fame. That's why you see a lot of great content from Lando, and they've created the amazing folding Brompton Pure scooter. Obviously, this one isn't broken. It's meant to be like that. I love it. Something different in the space.
What's the name of your channel?
Bo, we're one of the. We've got a stand here. We're just doing a walk around because it's cool. Yeah. Luke and I figuring out content creation as we go.
Oh, why are you recording us? Yes.
Yeah. It's funny, isn't it? As soon as you have a mic on your lapel, suddenly people are like, wait, this is serious.
Who knew we were journalists?
No, it's just a microphone.
And my iPhone.
I'm walking and
Yes, great.
turning. I just have the most unbelievable soft spot for these. I adore them, and I think that they're like... I grew up on a farm, so for me, anything that's a bit agricultural is super exciting. And they do wonderful, every year at the show, they do wonderful things like that art bike. The art frame is just beautiful. I want us to do more of this sort of crazy stuff with Bo. I mean, look at that chain. It's just such a cool. I'm afraid, Luke, this bit might just be a lot of walking. We're either going to have to do an edit cut, or we're going to have to do the fast forward thing. There's a lot of companies making a lot of scooters. The real question we always have is how much fundamental difference is there between, for example, I mean, Zhejiang, like, take a vehicle like this, which is cool, like, don't get me wrong, it'll get you to work and it'll do what you need to do. But then stand that, I don't know if we caught it on camera, but stand that next to the original Pure Air, and you go, oh, hold on, these are all the same, like, what, and how much of that is people seeing success and copying it, and how much of it is like just, you know, when a product comes out of a given factory. Oh, I've heard a lot of people in Germany talking about these. When these came out, they have this crazy slidey hinge. I can't remember exactly how it works. Yeah, there you go. This is kind of unusual, actually. Get on in here. I don't know another company that's doing a hinge like this. It's something which, yeah, you can see the wires feeding down through the middle of it. But just from an aesthetic and like the difficulty of making that happen, having that gap through there, I think the first time these came out, they may have actually had a bit of a recall issue because of the, it's just super fragile. But like stuff like integrating the light into this is not actually easy. Like, this is really, really challenging engineering. This is the solar panel scooter and the solar panel motorbike. And I weirdly like it. I don't know why. Luke's stuck. Luke's like, I can't get enough of this. And wow, this is one of the things I love about this show is you see some weird stuff scooting about. I don't know what that is, but it appears to be a suitcase with wheels on it. Yeah, go for a ride, man. This is amazing. Yeah, that's totally not something I want to be on the road with. With quite a lot of stuff, there's a line in Jurassic Park where they say you got so caught up with the fact you didn't ask whether you should. And I find myself thinking that quite a lot with some of the things here. Is that open? Yeah, that's open. Right, again, so we've gone from Hall 8 into Hall 9. We're going to move through this hall pretty fast because I wanted to look at the Acer bike. Yeah, this is something very different. So this one's the front motor, this one's the rear hub motor. But the one thing that they share in common is crazy frame design. This is a plastic panel, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
The first bike with AI technology integrated.
Cool. What does that AI technology integrated?
So basically you set up the destination you want to go to your app.
Yes.
And automatically
Yes.
it recognizes the road you want to do and it adjusts the support level you need.
Amazing. So it knows the hills that are coming.
Exactly.
It knows what you've got planned. It also just looks very different.
And it help as well on the battery consumption because it's going to study your
I love it.
behavior.
I love the fact that it stands out, and I love the fact it's something genuinely new. And I want to see what's under the body panels, but the integrated light's super cool, the integrated front hub's super cool. Just fair play to you guys. That's like a genuinely interesting product. I'm not sure whether I'd like to own and ride one every day, but I like the fact that it exists, and I like the fact that it's kind of cool and different. A good example, right? So this is Ride. If you go back 5 years or so, maybe more, 10 years, the only thing you could buy of this nature was Super 73. And so then rough cycles came out, Ride came out as like variants on it, which are much differentiated, like Onyx and so forth. But what I find really interesting is the way that the way that when a good idea hits, it spreads. Like suddenly it appears first on 3 stands, then on 5 stands, then on 10 stands. There's some really interesting gear on display at this show. It's really the thing I love with Eurobike is you could come here like with nothing and leave with an entire bike company. I'd say with nothing, you'd have to come here with a massive checkbook. If you came here with a massive checkbook, then you could leave with an entire bike company. Wow, here we go.
It's good?
It's really good. Right, we're going to cut straight across the test track because into Hall 11. Yeah. I mean, when we thought about doing this, I think we underestimated the size of this show. Even knowing exactly how big this show is, I think we underestimated the size of this show. Right, so Bo's over there. Obviously, this is the test track. Don't get run over. So outdoor, they've got the kid area, they've got the BMX tricks. Avis have brought a bouncy castle. I mean, I don't necessarily know the connection to Avis, but I know everyone loves a bouncy castle. So let's go in this door. This is sort of what I mean when I say good bikes, lots and lots of good bikes, but inevitably where we get interested is when we see something that we have never seen before. And where I struggle sometimes with this is that I go through stand after stand after stand, and nothing just makes me go, wow, look at that crazy progression in this space. And the reason that matters is that you don't see a huge change in the number of people cycling each year. There's a lot of news at the moment because more and more people are riding e-bikes. This is what I wanted to look at. Just because, from an engineering point of view, this is an integrated headlight, so it turns, I don't know if you get in close, it turns as you turn the bike wheel. This is a really high stress, high difficulty area to put stuff into a bike that somehow had to be integrated into the steer shaft. And just from the point of view of how you manage what's going on in this area, it's genuinely difficult engineering. That's a thing to have achieved. I mean, boy oh boy. At Bo this year, as you'll have seen at the start of this film, we have a really, we're gonna call it a cute little stand. Our stand is small but perfectly formed. It is amazing to see the effort and design and spend that has gone into some of these. I don't know if there's a general point to make here. There is a general point to make here, which is that you've got more and more of these automotive, motorcycle brands with basically a lot of resource who are used to spending tens or hundreds of millions on the development, and therefore for whom spending significantly less than that on a bicycle development isn't such a big deal. They're just throwing a lot of effort at making big, highly competent bike brands. I find it really impressive and really interesting as to where it ends up, because there's a bit of a pile on at the moment, basically. Let's go upstairs and just peer at all the things you can buy. We won't go in and through it. I kind of love this hall because, man, the sheer quantity of brilliant little companies making stuff that bicyclists are happy to spend quite a lot of money on. For me, this is my best in show. I don't know why, I just adore it. I mean, I'm just a sucker for anything raw aluminium. I love the upside down shock. I love the little skinny, this thing of ultra skinny rear shocks. This bike for me is just, I love it. me likes it, me wants it. Everything about the big, the rear cage, all of it is just super cool. The choice of the disc brakes, the fact that they've gone polished on the cat. This is a really cool, really attractive bike. If you're a nerd, and I am indeed a nerd. Man, sorry, I've just seen something I hadn't seen yet. I want to go and have a little look at it. So I'm super curious as to the process by which cars and bikes converge, and I look at things like this and I wonder, how much is that going to be part of the future? I love that people are thinking about this stuff, and the things that I like from the point of view of this is, yes, it's a bike, but it's a completely alternative approach to frame design, and it's something which, the key, like when you're in traffic, what matters? It matters that you're up high, so you feel like you're in control, that you're seen. Like, because you've got the e-motor, you no longer need a perfectly... This is a huge shift of e-motors that I think is widely understood, but maybe some people aren't aware of. That
Yeti. It's a Yeti back there. Yes, it is.
Oh yeah, look at this. That's like brand appropriation. Look at this. I mean, it's so cool. I don't know in what context you're heading off into the like outback with this thing, and you need your bear fighting spade and your all of it. But what I do know is that it's just, man, it's a really cool piece of kit. I'd love to know what the use case for these is. So, but this I find really interesting is the coming together of like car and bicycle, because with a normal acoustic bike, you have to have a really ergonomic frame design, because all the power is coming from you, so your legs need to be in the most ergonomic position possible. With an e-bike, obviously that's not the case. You can be in any position you like. The E is doing all the work. You're just along for the ride. So suddenly it frees up frame design. You'll look at this frame and you say one of the interesting things with it is you can always put your foot down. This is something cool and different. I love it. I also think the photo of the dude with his North Face, those North Face thingy bag, I love those duffels. It's just super cool. Let's do a little sneak through and then let's try and find our way into Hall 12. So this is genuinely something different. I mean, this has already had plenty of attention from the entire world, so creating carbon structures like that. At this point, I guess, Hope are just so incredibly good at everything they do that they're really having as much fun as they possibly can. And the amount of care they put in, when I've seen it before, the hopes have always been lined up. It's just like, it's like automotive. Maybe we can just tweak that a bit. Like the the automotive levels of care and quality in that thing and everything around it, man, it's so interesting when a stand really stands out. I find in all of this, and I think it's because the show is, you are kidding me, $20? Is it everything €20?
Yes.
Oh
Everything.
well, I mean, come on, it'd be rude not to. Well, obviously we've got to have three. Can we do cash or can we do card?
Cash only.
Cash only.
Oh, that's another.
Cash
Yeah.
only.
Oh man, that's really gutting. That's really gutting. Oh well.
Thank you.
Oh, 3T. Obviously we've got to go past 3T. Well, we almost had some really cool. I'm going to take a photo of it just because having this is now like unfinished business. I will have a pair of those. 3T is just a super cool brand. They've got this flattened off down tube. So this is kind of the unique feature of the 3T. And I mean, lots and lots of people now doing it, but it was the reason it was exciting is it was the first fast gravel bike. So fast road bike, but with really wide seat stays and chain stay, a really wide fork and really wide seat stay, chain stay, so you could put a wider like 38mm tire on it. So yeah, fast road bike, but if you look at this, it's got a proper gravel tire on it. And just makes them super capable. They also do some outrageously delightful colorways. And I found that green one, as I've just been like running through the show, that green one really stood out to me. I love the little strip of carbon fiber. Just generally like a beautiful, really nicely put together bike. And obviously they share our love for OSB, so mega. Right, we're going to try and get into Hall 12 down this way, Luke. I can see Hall 12, but can I get to Hall 12? Let's send it. Let's send it. Let's see what happens.
Lovely. What a
Breathe
day.
the free air.
Man, can we see the test track down there? I feel like we should get
Maybe.
some bow
Oh my
shots
God,
from
that
up
could be an
here.
amazing shot. This is like
Wow.
that moment on Pride Rock where they walk up with something, ah, Zemenya, and then you get the whole of the test track.
It is.
It's not actually as busy as you might expect. On track, I mean. I've seen it at times over the last few days where it's like a motorway, just a relentless stream. But hey, it's Sunday, it's only 11 o'clock. I guess there's people who are still in bed. What I love is the flag warfare. But it's my one takeaway from this is that next year we are coming back and we are bringing a big flag.
Can we see bow from over there?
You reckon?
I think we can.
Well, let's go and find out. I guess that allows us to throw in a bunch of really lovely shots of the Frankfurt skyline. The pointy tower, if you're ever at the Frankfurt Messe, the showground, the pointy tower is how you orient yourself to everything. So if you can see the pointy tower, you can find home, but we're spreading outside our swim lane. Rather than just talking about cool scooters and cool
It's
bikes.
now a travel vlog.
We're now literally travel vlogging, yeah. What a result. I see you, Bo. I mean, for anyone who's arriving by helicopter, we've won.
There's bow.
Let's go and hit hall 12.
There's hall 12.
We run. I've seen how I look when I run on camera, it's not good. We can just cut it and then we can headline it not Frankfurt Motor Show. Ugh. Look at that, that's a 3T. So the first time Harry ever saw a 3T, it was a brown one in that colour. And he says it sticks in his mind as a photographic. Very few bikes are finished in brown. I don't know if you call it brown, it's like a burnt oak or something.
Love the
And
sound.
What, the click, click,
audio
click?
clicking.
So that's I think that's probably a
gorgeous.
Chris King. It's quite a noticeable. That's I think a Chris King hub.
Love that.
Although, originally it was a Chris King hub, but maybe now everyone's copied it because if you're on the trail and you heard that burr coming, it became like an audio signature for the brand. Here we go. We can get through. It's all going to be all right. Let's go all in. So this is becoming so this is now a travel guide to the Frankfurt Messe. We were up there on that balcony. Bo is down there beyond the kids area bridge. And the test track actually runs, this year they've gone full on. The test track runs around the entirety of the central building, comes down, goes up and does 1 or 2 layers of the das Parkplatz. And then goes back. So you do each time a bow goes out, it does 3 kilometers or 4 kilometers or something, which means we've been rinsing through it.
People love the pairs as well.
People love to scoot in pairs. Big lesson for us, big lesson for anyone coming to the show next year. People love to scoot in pairs. Here we go. Right, now we're getting to the big, so hall 12, the segregation of Frankfurt is that you have the hall 12 is the big established brands, the ones that people know and love, the Acer's. Downstairs we're going to hit Benno, we're going to hit Specialized, Query Specialized, Bosch, these big, proud, valuable, wealthy brands. And then as you work around the other halls, you get into, it's sort of like the companies that come over from China are in one area. I mean, look at this. This is a brand, sorry, just to pause and just to give some sense of the scale. This is a brand and they just do bike lights, expensive bike lights, but you're talking about an unbelievably big company just doing bike lights. This might sound ridiculous. I know there's hundreds or tens of millions of bicyclists in the world. It still surprises me that you can support this much industry so well with all this gear. Man, Schwalbe tires, proud southern German company, make the best tires in the world, so fair play to them. Gates belt drive. This has actually taken over the world over the last 5-10 years. Basically, maintenance free. So now that you've got an e-drive, you don't have to have a derailleur with lots of gears. You can have an internal, the internal gear hubs are now doing more and more as well. So you can get a 7 or 8 speed in your rear hub. But fundamentally, when you go to an e-drive bike, the e-drive puts out a ton of torque, so you just don't need as many gears. And that means that, oh man, look at that integrated light in the headset. Yeah, there's some absolutely popping stuff. That is a hell of a detail. And the thing that's really clever about that is where on that bike we saw in Hall 11, where it was in here, you have to cut a load of material out of a really high stress area of the bike. With this one, it just sits on top there. So it looks just as integrated, but it will have cost a fraction of what the other one cost. Very smart. Oh, a tool bike. I think if it mess up my screen recording, but it'll just make Haz so happy. Tool bikes are great. And beautiful tool bikes are super great. I think part of it is don't get me wrong, my bike sector knowledge is very, very average compared to my scooter sector knowledge. But what amazes me is when I come across a ginormous 50 grand stand, 100 grand stand, and it's a brand that I've man, that stands out, doesn't it? That has like strong automotive vibes to it. Fair play. Yeah, Continental really flexing with the bikes on this stand, aren't they? That is your aero bike. Very hard to imagine me on it, but I'm sure that more capable humans. Here we go. Okay, so hopefully we can get to the end, nip down to Hall 12. Oh, look at that. Kids full suspension bike. I mean, man alive. When I was first into mountain biking, which was a long time ago, I would have killed for something like that. I love this. I've often wondered whether we should do something like this for Bo.
Ooh, yeah, that's cool.
Where you fully look at it. So it's a 3D print. So what's cool about this is that you can see the markings from the 3D printing. What's not cool about this is that 3D printed plastic tends to UV degrade. But what an unbelievably cool way to show how you've integrated all of this good stuff. Also, that is just a lovely integration of so battery, loom into your controller, rear shock hidden in the frame, center drive motor hidden in the frame. Beautiful. So we're just going past the Jobrad stand. This big big wall is Jobrad, who are the biggest buyer of bikes in Germany. I think 40% of the entire German cycle market goes through Jobrad, which is kind of incredible. Oh, the My Rider, these things. Luke, have you seen these on Instagram?
No.
These are hammering Instagram, the My Rider, and I'm seeing so many of them now. Let's dive into the big Hall 12. Well, sorry, that is Hall 12, but that was 12.1. Man, the real content here would be if I, turning around there, managed to mess it up on the escalators. A man falling down.
That will be viral.
That would be like, that'd be the content that everyone, especially everyone who's watched to this point, really was waiting for. Yeah, look, we've just drawn a perfect map of Frankfurt Messe. So my clever idea didn't work. All right, Hall 12. This is the big stuff. This is the grand finale. Well, the grand finale will be we'll walk the test track and back to Bo. Hard to know which way to go. So this is where I struggle. And this is with all respect to Hercules or Veloville or whatever. When I stand and you pan through this, what I find myself seeing is hundreds and hundreds of what seems to me to be fundamentally the same product. It seems to me, now I know that there's differences, but what I'm really waiting for is something like the Hope bike we saw upstairs, or like what we're trying to do with the Bo chassis, or things which are genuinely different and bring in some functionality or some capability that just hasn't been seen before. And although the Turn here is definitely one of my favorites in show, it's my favorite in show because I'm a big child, and so I just like things that have lots of pannier bags and big chunky tires, right? So for me, this, a Turn on Johnny Watts, it's just super exciting. I love the fact that it's got all the different little ways of carrying stuff. I love the spec. I love the fact that the frame geometry allows you to have those huge tires. It's basically, for me, the ultimate unlock of e-mobility. Is that a bike like that, powered acoustically by your legs, you can't ride. I mean, you have to have legs like tree trunks, and you still get tired and knackered and not have fun with it. Whereas this lad, you can ride this all day without breaking a sweat. By the time that's fully laden up, you're probably talking about a few, 200 kilos with a rider, 250. Just the capability of these things is mind-blowing. But the funny thing is, this is the unlock. In fact, you can tell how it weighs up, because look at the size of the disc brakes they're now using. If you're going to be slowed down and you weigh that much, you have to take it seriously. But so I love that, because that's like an unlock of e-mobility, right? So the e-mobility, it allows you to have the low frame, it allows you to have the heavy weight, it allows you to have the big tires. This is all like super inefficient stuff. So where bicycles forever have been efficiency focused, the e-powertrain allows it to be inefficiency focused, comfort and capability focused. It's fundamentally, it's still based on all the same tubular frame and so forth. So I don't know really the point I'm trying to make. It's just a case of like, I'm waiting to see something where I'm like, never ever seen that before. When I was talking about how something appears somewhere and is successful, and then it reappears in 100 places, look at this frame design, register it, and then we're going to turn up at the Benno bike stand. Who did it better? Who did it first? Integrated lights is definitely a theme this year, isn't it?
Yeah, lighting is stepping up. It feels like the era in automotive where it went from like we all share the same kind of lighting systems to we're now going to spend 50 times more on our lighting.
100%. No, the
like
explosion
2008,
in, well, it's the first people to do a DRL, wasn't it? The first people to do like signature lighting, which was a fun era, because if you were a Volvo driver, then you just spent 40 years, 50 years with everyone flashing you for having your lights on the whole time. Suddenly every car had its lights on the whole time. Quite a funny little shift that. Funny how long it took people. Sorry, the reason I was stood in front of the Stroma bikes is Stroma are so these are like 10, 15,000 pounds, 15,000 euros. And Stroma are kind of like the pointy end of the battering ram of ultra high performance e-bikes as vehicles. That's just like a second car, not like you don't add it as a bike, it's a second car. And there's a few of these. There's a great one in the other hall called Spectre, which I've ridden, it's insane. There's the Stromas, which are again like really potent, although I haven't ridden one yet this show. But they're kind of like the OGs of, now that we've got an e-motor, what are we going to do with this? Oh yeah, we're going to make it do 45 kilometers an hour, and you can take you can ride 20 miles into work every day on it like a car. Müller, again, these guys are like the OGs of premium e-bike beastiness, and you can see that because their stand, this is getting as close to like an automotive grade stand as one sees. This lad, I don't know if you've seen it already, I find this such an interesting example of like, we want to do something to stand out, we're not entirely sure what to do to stand out. So you feel like you're bringing in automotive principles to how you're designing it, and like the strong horizontals that come in and all that sort of stuff. For me, it ends up visually insanely heavy. And it's interesting how at this show, the things that compel you to jump on it and ride it. So weirdly, like with the 3T, I'm not a gravel cyclist, but when I see one, I'm compelled to go riding. Same with the Benno bike, when I see one, I'm compelled to go on an adventure. Same with that turn, when I see one, I want to go riding. I don't know about you, but for some reason, something about this, like, I don't desire to leap on it. I respect it as a feat of engineering and as a beast, but I don't look at it and go, yeah, now I need to hit the trails, right? Benno bikes. This is my favorite stand. The reason I love the Benno stand is that there's a great podcast with Benno, Mr. Benno, and he's talking about his first year at Eurobike, where no one cared. They had a little stand in the corner, and then 5 years in, 10 years in, 6 or 7 years in, they'll pop up with a beastie stand. And just every year they do something funny and they do something cool. Last year it was an Airstream caravan serving coffee or beer. This year, obviously, they have a fire truck, because why not? But we actually had a Benno Remy Demi. Really cool bike, really different, or it was when it came out. And then to the point over there, basically in the 5 years since this was released, more and more of this sort of step through, but step through for men. Step through is traditionally quite a female design. This is like a step through for like an omni an omni step through. Everyone can use it, and it's really caught on. It's really gone big. And this one's particularly cool because it's got studded wheels, so you can take it ice biking. That with a front hub motor, so you've got a 2-wheel drive, like highly functional bike. The thing I love with Benno is they've just got a great sense of humour. I don't know, maybe they support like the fire service or something, but I just, the fact that they stick the teddy bear in it, the fact that they do the bread. This is close to being my best in show, because I just love the idea of like, basically for Bo, I love the idea of people going out servicing our vehicles using a vehicle like this. It's just so cool. That for me, like it's got a strapped down bike stand. It's like, I desire this with like a visceral passion. Cool. Okay, we walk out. It's quite amazing to see. Like, there's no other show on earth where you get this. And then we can walk down past the BMXing and then back into the Bo stand. It's such a setup. All of these brands, all these different companies, all of these bikes, all of them fully charged, all of them electric. I mean, Query electric, like electric. There we go, that's the battering ram bike I was talking about. Turn your partner into a battering ram. 10 ways, my boot. Oh, those are quite cool bamboo. Maximalion. So, fun fact, the Brompton hub was originally, we developed that at Williams Advanced Engineering, which was an offshoot of Williams Formula One. The idea was to take the the motor that sits around the, we're gonna have to cross over here, so don't get flattened, dude. Concentrate on the bicycles. I would go down to the Specialized stand, but we're late as it is, so we better just crack on.
You know who I'm curious and I'll see is Cowboy.
I know, right? Which makes me wonder, is it that they're not here, or is it that we have missed them?
Good question.
They could be. Cowboy, ooh, Jesus Christ, there's the viral content.
There is the video.
Yeah.
And that's the clip that goes at the beginning.
Yeah, what we do is we cut that and we just like splice me falling over. So over here, we've got the Red Bull jumpy track. Hey, another battering ram. That's how you do it. Coming through. I find that completely terrifying. I really don't like the idea of sticking my wife on the front of this thing, my wife on the front of that. Pegasus. Isn't it crazy?
Get Bo up there?
For sure. The day is coming when we hand one of these guys, or like Danny McCaskill or someone amazing like that. Let's cut through the back here so we don't get flattened. I mean, look, if you're contemplating buying a bicycle, it's a hell of a setup. One of the great themes of this show, the one to end on, well, we'll end on Bo. One of the great themes of the show is disconnected powertrains. So you have no chain between your legs and the rear motor or the front motor or whatever. You're pedaling, you're driving a generator, and that's the whole thing moves itself forward. It's basically you're acting like an accelerator on a car, right? That all you're doing when you're spinning that, you're maybe making 100 watts or something to power it, but really all you're doing is saying, I want to go forward. And now on almost all the serious cargo bikes, the big cargo bikes, lovely to see. This polar bear has been delighting me for the whole show. What a little legend. Yeah, say how you feel. This thing of like having no direct connection, here's an example of it. So obviously here, there's nothing between your legs and the drivetrain. You're not driving a chain, you're not driving a belt, you're just pedaling, and you pedaling makes it move forward.
All right.
So, hey, and we're back at Bo. That's a whistle stop, a kind of crazy whistle stop tour in which we barely got to touch on anything and sort of touched on everything. Let's just show Chrome. Chrome Bo is a one-off for this show. Basically, the issue we always have is people don't appreciate that what you're looking at here is a structure. It's like a Vespa. It's like a a vehicle. This is how you make cars. This is how you make anything substantive that you ride on the road. Everyone always thinks it's body panels. So we're like, well, what can we do? We can polish it. The way this draws people into the bow stand is unreal. It's been an absolute killer for us. And we've obviously matched it with this delightful chrome helmet. Thank you, Bobbin Brownie. Or Bobbin Brown, or Bobbin Bikes, or whatever. Man, that is a hell of a whistle. That's an ear piercer for us to finish on. Let's leave it with the sharp whistle, and let's say thank you for anybody who wandered around with us for an hour. Obviously, this is the content. This has to be the content that the ground needs. You need to be dressed like.
We just needed you wearing those in the video.